Police attack pro-Palestinian students at the Université de Québec à Montréal. Federal department releases what they think are the top 10 threats to stability in Canada. World leaders respond to ICC request for arrest warrants. Israel attacks hospital in northern Gaza that has been under siege since Sunday. Congo army releases name of third American involved in attempted coup. And Kenyan president visits U.S. to launch police deployment to Haiti. Good morning. It's Wednesday, May 22nd. I'm Nora. Here are your headlines. Students forming a pro-Palestinian encampment at UQAM this weekend were attacked by police, social media video shows. The group that organized the encampment, Solidarité Palestine à UQAM, put out a statement on Instagram stating that the police had attacked protesters, quote, without warning or notice of dispersal, unquote. The statement went on to say, quote, several people were injured, including head injuries, falls and truncheon blows, facial injuries, tear gas grenades to the head and truncheon blows, minor wounds and contusions, truncheon blows and dispersal grenades. A video of the group shared on Instagram shows police dressed in riot gear violently beating down protesters with batons. The university says that the police intervention did not come at its request. However, on Saturday, UQAM rector Stéphane Pellage said that the university, quote, would take action, unquote, if the encampments continued. Meanwhile, in Oshawa, organizers of the encampment at Ontario Tech University became the first in Canada to reach a deal with the university administration over calls to have the university divest from companies connected to the Israeli military. The agreement says that while the university, quote, is not aware of investments in any companies that are benefiting, unquote, from ongoing genocide in Gaza, it will establish a group to review future investments, paying, quote, particular attention to companies involved in arms manufacturing and delivery and or benefiting from military action in Palestine, unquote. The university also stated that any students or faculty who participated in the encampment would be protected from academic or employment-based retaliation, and that it would fund 3 undergraduate scholarships for Palestinians displaced by the genocide. Folks, there's a really good list of things that you can fight for your own universities to support and colleges, and congratulations to the activists in Oshawa. Next, a group within the Federal Ministry, Employment and Social Development Canada has identified 35, quote, plausible global disruptions, unquote, that they believe could reshape Canada and the world. CBC's Peter Zimonich reports that the issue leading the top 10 is, quote, the threat to truth, unquote, which is a bit self-serving considering the source. It's funny for the department to land on the question of truth as the number one threat, as if nonstop wildfires, ecosystem collapse, and income inequality are all not greater threats. They are all on the list too, but to be first and foremost concerned that the truth is stifled is such a bureaucratic thing to be concerned about. Like, do you know why we cannot tell what is true and what isn't true? Because of threat number 5, billionaires running the world. Ecosystem collapse is the second threat. Number 3 is that emergency response is overwhelmed, which is also a silly issue considering how much that issue is in the hands of government to control. Fighting climate change may be difficult, but making sure we have enough paramedics in hospitals seems like something that, governments are supposed to know how to do. Cyber attacks of critical infrastructure clocks in at number 4. Billionaires, as I already said, are 5. AI is number 6, which is great considering that Canada is pouring billions into AI. Scarcity in vital resources is 7. Downward social mobility being the norm is 8, though, folks, we already have reached a point where upward social mobility is statistically less possible for the bottom quintile of Canadians. We're kind of almost already there. And finally, healthcare system collapse is 9 and democratic breakdown is 10. Interestingly, Zimonich focuses on AI and healthcare system collapse in the rest of his article. Doesn't so much talk about those billionaires that are actually doing so much of the attacks on truth and making sure that we don't understand what is true, including their attacks on media in Canada. Next, various world leaders and governments have been reacting to the request by the International Criminal Court for arrest warrants for Israeli and Hamas officials. Yesterday, I told you that Biden called the request outrageous. Well, today, France, Belgium, and Slovenia all stated that they supported the ICC and its request. Other European countries and EU leaders have stated that while they respect the ICC, they do not support the accusations leveled at Israeli officials specifically. Unsurprisingly, Canada echoed this sentiment when Chrystia Freeland said this, quote, "It is entirely inappropriate to equate the leaders of a terrorist organization with the democratically elected leaders of a democracy," unquote. Now, it took 31 hours between this statement on the ICC appearing on their website and the Canadian government and media to actually write about Canada's response. 31 hours. There was not a single media outlet in Canada that actually wrote about the fact that politicians weren't saying anything, which is newsworthy in and of itself. And then once they finally did say something, all we got was pretty basic copy from CBC, the Canadian Press, and the Globe and Mail. There was nothing at Global and there was nothing at CTV as of 7 o'clock last night. Now, in the Canadian Press copy, Justin Trudeau says the same thing as Chrystia Freeland, though that he finds the false equivalence disgusting because Hamas is bloodthirsty and Israel is not. Now, that article is written by Dylan Robertson. Dylan's a good guy. I feel like I probably should message him and ask him why on earth that statement wasn't fact-checked. Because by every measure of what bloodthirsty means, Israel checks the boxes. Israel has killed somewhere around 40 times the number of people that Hamas has killed. And if Canadian journalists want to say that it is not fair to call Israel bloodthirsty when Hamas are the bloodthirsty ones, folks, that is pure racism, not rooted in any measurable fact from the last 6 months. So there you go. I have a little takedown of it on Twitter if you want to find it. But unsurprisingly, Canada's response is a day late, a buck short, or maybe like way more than a buck. Meanwhile, in Gaza, Israel continues to attack and destroy whatever is left of the healthcare infrastructure. See, that bloodthirstiness, there it is. Reuters reports that it saw video footage showing Israeli missiles hitting the emergency department of Kamal Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza. Israeli forces had the hospital under siege since Sunday. The hospital had 148 staff, 22 patients, and the people accompanying them who were trapped inside, according to the WHO. Patients were being evacuated to the Baptist Hospital following the attacks. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said this of the attacks on Kamal Adwan, quote, "These are the only 2 functional hospitals remaining in northern Gaza. Ensuring their ability to deliver health services is imperative," unquote. Not unrelated, Israel also raided and shut down the Associated Press's office and live stream in northern Gaza, making it even harder for the world to find out what Israel is doing there. Next, Congo's army named the 3rd American who was involved in an attempted coup and attack on the country's presidential palace over the weekend. Taylor Thompson was one of the 3 Americans who were involved in this weekend's attacks. It's not yet clear if he was killed in the attack or if he was just arrested. The attacks were planned by opposition figure Christian Malanga, who some reports say is a naturalized American citizen, though that's not confirmed. The attacks took place in Kinshasa, the capital. 6 people, including Malanga, were killed in the attack, while dozens more were arrested. Among them was Malanga's 20-year-old son Marcel, who lived in Utah and played high school football. Malanga had recruited him and others to help with the attempted coup, though it's unclear how he managed to do that. And finally, Kenyan President William Ruto is set to pay a state visit to the U.S. this week to discuss several things, including a plan to send a UN-backed Kenyan-led police force to Haiti. Recall that the UN Security Council authorized the mission last year to deal with the ongoing political crisis in Haiti. Kenyan officials say that its intervention is now imminent. The deployment will have 2,500 members, including 1,000 Kenyan police officers. Speaking to Al Jazeera, several analysts pointed out several concerns about the deployment. Martin Mavinjina at the Kenyan Human Rights Commission in Nairobi told Al Jazeera that the Kenyan police force, for example, quote, has known a history of human rights violations, unquote. Human rights groups have also been critical of this mission because of a problematic history of foreign intervention in Haiti, to say the least. Those are your headlines for Wednesday, May 22nd. I'm Nora. You're listening to this podcast at sandynora.com, on the Real News Network podcast feed, and anywhere you get your podcasts. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. I'll talk to you tomorrow.